afternoon. I think we're almost at afternoon. My name is Serena Demikas, and I'm the Director of Community Living Services with Moving Forward. We're located in Napa, California. We were founded in 1998 by a group of dedicated parents that after their children graduated from school were looking for a living environment that would meet their children's needs. And based on that small group of parents that put this together, we've now kind of grown into a more lifelong program as well. So many individuals start in the transitional-based program, which is suited for individuals that need 24-hour support and supervision and structure and opportunity for exploration and learning. I've heard a lot today about that plunge after graduation and going into the world after school, and exploration is so critical because so many of the individuals don't know all the opportunities that are available to them in regards to housing and work and school and friends and fun. And if you're a barista and that's not going to be your lifelong job, it's important you explore all options out there that could be for you. Based on the transitional living, people then possibly can move into the community living division, which then we try to keep all of the individuals within a 5-mile radius of our program, so individuals have access to the site base to come and be able to check in if they'd like to. So we have moved into many apartments in the community, and that's where the individuals receive support in their homes, whether alone or with a roommate. And a lot of our focus is in regard to the Napa community for employment, for education, Special Olympics. We provide a lot of great opportunities for classes, working collaboratively with outside resources to come in and speak to our individuals and support our individuals and facilitate opportunities for growth and social skills and interpersonal relationships.
Hi everyone, so I'm not Elizabeth Kane, she's seated right over here. I'm speaking on her behalf. My name is Frances Burke and I am the program director and the senior social mentor for Shire House. We are located in San Jose, and we are a community of and for adults within the high-functioning autism spectrum. So, okay. Shire House is a transitional independent living residential program. Our program is designed for young adults ages 18 and older who are within the high-functioning autism spectrum. This transitional period includes so many different things that we tailor for each individual client. When they move in, we make a plan by evaluating where they're at and where they want to be at. Some of these things include applying for college, if they're already in college, maintaining their schoolwork, maybe creating and building a resume, interview prep, different learning how to drive. We also do that. We also help develop social skills by being a good housemate, being a good tenant, being a good host for the Friday night socials that we have every Friday. All these skills help them for whatever their next step is, which could be moving into a college dorm, moving into their own apartment, moving into their own shared housing, or moving into Shire House shared housing, which brings us to our second model house. Earlier this year, we were able to make one of our organization's goals come true, and our shared housing model is used to transition Shire House clients and qualifying new clients into a less supported environment. This model does not provide staff physically present 24/7 like our first house does, because the clients that are there are on the track to independence, but they always know that we're just a phone call away. Some of the benefits of this shared housing program is that it's available to be offered at a lower cost, and rent and utilities are split among the amount of, split equally among the amount of bedrooms that there are, and supportive services are given at an hourly rate. So this is just a little glimpse of who we are. I encourage you to join us for lunch if this is something that you're interested in learning more about. The founder and executive director, Liz, will be there to elaborate and answer any more questions that you have. And I've also included our contact information if you'd like to speak to us after today. Thank you.
Thank you, Frances. Okay, next, Jan Johnston Tyler. I'm going to let you pronounce your agency. I'm sorry.
Evo Libre Consulting. It's wonderful seeing so many friends, colleagues, past clients, maybe future clients here. My name's Jan Johnston Tyler. I'm the founder and CEO of Evo Libre Consulting here in Santa Clara. I came to this work, as many of you have, because I have a kid on the spectrum. And I left high tech, and you can see my slides very much don't look nonprofit. They look very much business. That's why. So we've been in business now for about 9 years. Typically, we are serving mod to higher functioning and people we call neurodiverse. So we try not to use labels too much. We serve typically people with ADHD, Asperger's syndrome, high functioning autism, mood disorders, anxiety, depression, that group of people, and a couple of interesting ones thrown in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we see transition. Transitioning starts early. It should. I tell parents, don't worry so much about the academics. We have a lot of kids who are very, very smart. They have, the high-functioning kids, the Asperger kids, and they gravitate towards excellence in academics, and they kind of suck at a lot of other things. So as with most things in life, you got to work on the things you're not good at. And so we really want them to learn executive functioning skills, prefrontal cortex, planning, social skills, that type of thing. And also really important is mental health. We have a lot of kids that I've worked with for many years, and I've seen them deteriorate over time. And what I mean by that is their anxiety and depression get worse because we were too focused on behaviors. We were too focused on getting through school, helping them to get, B's and A's in school instead of worrying about how they were feeling inside. So those are the things that I think we really need to focus on at the 8 to 13. Social connection as well. So how we help in that area, and by the way, we're a nonprofit agency, so we can be retained by school districts to help. We have therapy, we do in-home behavior intervention, both ABA and what I'd call ABA light, with air quotes. So this is a kid who's maybe a little rigid. I'm sure you've never seen them. Or insists on doing things a certain way that kind of drives everybody wild, to taking kids sometimes out into the community as young as 12 or 13. We also do executive functioning coaching, and we have social groups in our office for kids that age. So the second phase of transition is 13 to 17, and this is your sweet spot, guys. Pay attention. You've heard a lot of information today about why you should be looking at programs early and trying to figure it out. So what kids need at this age, in my opinion, is continued executive functioning. That is the core of how they problem solve and how they're going to go through life. They also need independence. This is the time you need to back off. And if you think you didn't get a teenager along with that diagnosis, think again. Because you have a teenager with all the hormones and all of the pushing away. You're going to see that too. That's normal. And oftentimes with kids who have a challenge, it's hard to differentiate what is just being a jerk teenager and what's a symptom of the diagnosis. So you need some good people to help you decide that. We also really want to, again, focus on the anxiety and depression. This is where it really starts to hit because our kids typically know that their path is going to be different from their neurotypical peers. That scares the bejesus out of them. So you have to get them involved with helping develop their program so they know they have a plan. There's a place for them in the world. That's really important. Ongoing social connections and skills building, starting to think about what's next, really critical. I believe that by the time other neurotypical kids are putting in their apps for college, your kid needs to know what's happening next, regardless of the level. What do we do to support this? Again, therapy. We also have in-home behavior shaping. This is more about, and it can be anything from school refusal to let's learn how to cook together. We also do independent living skills classes. We also do ILS coaching one-on-one. We also have emotional quotient. This is anxiety and depression classes for this age group. We do, of course, executive functioning coaching, and we have several social groups for this age. Third, get ready to launch. For the kids, we're going to launch sometime before 25. So and that's normal, by the way, even for neurotypical kids. What are they going to need? Again, a concrete plan. That's really important. They need to know how they're going to spend the rest of their lives. You got to help them with that. How do we help with that? ILS and EQ, some of the same things I mentioned before. We're also a Department of Rehab vendor. We have a great program about workplace adaptability to teach kids the soft skills they need. And my time is up. So, ongoing resources that everybody can return to on their own past 18. Remember, you're not raising a child, you're raising an adult. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, our next speaker, Meg Fields, Aspiranet.
Hi. Jill, thank you for having us. I'm Meg Fields from Aspen Network. I am a psychologist. I was a nurse at San Francisco General in the psychiatric emergency room for 25 years. You can't show me anything new, I don't think. My husband, who co-directs with me, is also an emergency room nurse in San Francisco Trauma 1 ER. So between those two parts, we have it pretty well covered. Then you bring in the brain power, Jan Johnston-Tyler being one of my heroes, Kathy Allen, whose book's out of print. It was 30 years ago that she wrote one of the first books on NLD, a real pioneer in understanding neurodiversity. And Nancy Perry, who's my staff and my God, I adore her. Her book is called Adults on the Spectrum Leave the Nest, How to Achieve a Supported Independence. Okay, now if I can figure out what my admin told me. Oh, there it works. So the staff around us are totally amazing. There's probably 8 staff, 12 youth in our houses, so pretty good ratio. And these are kids who are going to college. And one is just about to graduate from college. And these 2 did just get their AA degrees. And the bottom 4 are adorable. One's my neurotypical staff. You tell me which is which. You can't tell the difference. So what we're trying to do is create a living pod, so we did. And actually, when I was here last year, you guys were all talking about needing to have all those kids move into your houses. Well, I moved out of my house, and I moved everybody in. So they took over my houses, and I moved across town. And so what we do really beautifully, we found out organically from running a camp, really successful, fabulous July camp. Look us up in July. It's in Tahoe, and what we've discovered was because of my nursing background and my psych ability, I could take such a diverse population backpacking. So I have a son with Asperger's, so that was a piece of what I would do, but social anxieties, OCD, mood disorders, everything Jan just said, I'm like, ditto, ditto, ditto. General learning disabilities, nonverbal learning disabilities, really different, really underexplored. Judy Lewis, NLD line, if you ever want to know about it. So then there's just the neurodiversity and the spectrum differences. Now, my Nancy Perry, Dr. Perry, her book is great, as is Jan's, on executive function. But her chapters start with, okay, so you have it. She says the whole thing should just be called the disorder of executive function. So there's so many things to do, but the disorder of executive function, whether I had a kid at my group on Thursday night who was a UCLA grad chemical engineer, 4 years, sitting there, gorgeous, attractive, 4-year degree, chemical engineer, got the job, doing the big, whatever these guys do, scary up here, audio stuff for big programs. Flipped his car on the way home one night, and he just never left the bedroom again. It's like I kind of go into people's homes and pull these UC Davis, Tufts University, UCLA kids. It doesn't matter. If your executive function doesn't work, your executive function doesn't work. I have kids that are great Safeway employees. One has 8 years. He's not a kid, he's a man. The people that live with us are very amazing. And what am I trying to say? So everybody wants our kids to realize their potential, yes. However, fine. The blended diagnosis is a really, really good way of going about it, because if they're all Aspie, it's a little dull. It's just a little dull. So what we found was you got to whip up some girl energy for one thing, and 2, you got to really whip up some neurotypical youth who, by the way, come and talk about their own anxiety disorders, how they all can't get dates, how they're all having trouble being bored. Everybody's on the same thing, so nobody comes to our group and says us and them. The intern just showed up. She's a 4-year nurse practitioner who's now wanting her doctorate at USF, so great. Oh, sure, you could be my intern, fine. So she's on board now, and she comes in and talks about her 2 autistic kids. She's immediately achieving affinity, she's connected, she's cool. So what happens, we live together. I don't think they're ever gonna live apart. I don't get this idea about they're gonna go get their own apartments, okay? I don't think it's a good idea. It's not gonna work for my son. So I'm not for it. I'm for pods that are affordable. Don't ask me what I charge. Affordability is a real problem. But what really is going to happen for all of our people is the vision. So what we want is what we're creating is a transformative experience, because our youth are succeeding in having, for the very first time, community, buddies. This one woman, her father said she'd never been to a birthday party. And I took a picture of her birthday party last week, and I was really excited. I mean, I was like, I'm sending it to everybody. It was like these beaming. They're 20 to 27 years old, and they're in love. Some are in love. And then we got to do the sex, drug, and roll talk, but we're doing it. We got it on. And so what's independence? And Nancy Perry says, independence means you're not with your parents, and you have peers of your own. That's fair. That's what all of us have. So Nancy Perry's got it on, and she's with us, so I'm really proud. Peers of your own, gotta have it. I guess it's pretty much cooked. Let me just tell you my vision. Oh, was that it cooked? Oh, one vision. The vision. She's gonna let me do it. No social group. Come Thursday nights. Vision is for all of us that our people, social cognitive ramps. We got wheelchairs, we got Braille, we got ASL. Get over it already. Our kids don't come on time. They only work 2 hours. They got to have a Star Wars break in the middle, and they get to do what they get to do. And somebody's got to make some room for our folks to have a place to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg from Aspen Network. Our next speaker is Caveman Krause, CIP.
All right. Just want to say thank you so much, Jill, Autism Society, for hosting something like this because, can you hear me now? Yes. All right. So I just want to say thank you to Jill and Autism Society to host some event like this, because I've met many parents who are like craving for this kind of information. So I think it's very important to have something like this often, and I thank you so much for having this. So I thought it would be a good idea to instead of talking about like CIP does and what we do with our students and so forth, I thought it would be, I thought I'd present something that we do with our students when it comes to career. I'll say about a year ago, when I met with Temple, I asked her, I really want to work with my students, getting them some sort of internship. And the first thing, before I even finished my sentence, she said was, get him a job, get him a job, get him a job. So I was like, okay. So we worked with my staff, sat down and trying to figure out how we can better support our students and figure out a way to get them internship, job, paid job, anything like that. So one of the most important things for our student population, student autism spectrum or any kind of learning differences, it's important to give them or offer them or create an environment that is sort of like a real life experience. Some sort of internship, whether it is job shadowing or community services. So when I spoke with some educators and so forth about our student population, one of them suggested that kids in the autism spectrum are sort of apples in a PC world. So if you think about the majority of the world use PC and our student population are Macs, and just because the majority of our population use PC doesn't necessarily mean our students are dysfunctional or a malfunctioning PC. They're just an Apple. They just need a different platform. So our job as a program such as CIP is to create the PC, to make the PC world more conducive for our Apple students. So we would try to work with them to create an environment where they can shine and flourish very well. So where to start? Really, the first thing to do is to meet them where they are. As a parent, we are rushed and we want to go and trying to get them to the school or whatever the case may be, but we really want to talk to them and meet them where they are and where they want to start. I think if we meet them where they are, I think our success is much more bigger than just us pushing them to do something. We have a lot of career assessments that we do. If you actually go on Google and just search career assessment, there's a bazillion of them that come up, and just go on those things, allow your child or your student to kind of work on those career assessment and kind of start from there. Also, place-based learning involves students in the greater community. Then once they get the job, or once they find something they're very much interested in, our next job is to find the structure for them. As Jan and most of us mentioned here, executive functioning is the core component here. Time management, to wake up in the morning, to take the shower, to brush the teeth, have the proper attire, go to the job, have the right conversation. Like, the party you had last night may not be something that you want to discuss with your boss when you come in the first thing in the morning. So things like that, so in order to help them with that, we do a lot of job coaching, social mentoring, anxiety management, because our students have severe anxiety issues, and we work with them around that to make sure that they feel comfortable when they go out and work in the real world. Just to mention our founder, Michael McMahon, he himself is diagnosed with learning differences, high-functioning autism. His core belief is students with learning differences must live, learn, and work in an environment which duplicate real-life conditions. We are made for a good purpose and are inherently valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, Cabe. Appreciate it. Oliver Chaney, Maristern.
Thank you very much. My name is Oliver Chaney, and I'm the president of Maristern. We're a post-secondary transition program up in Fair Oaks near Sacramento, working with young adults, many of whom are on the autism spectrum. I'm also aware that I'm the guy that's keeping you from your lunch, so I'm not going to take too long. And another thing I've got counting against me is that I'm nervous and I have a very strange British accent. So you might not be able to hear anything or understand anything that I say between now and lunch. I was also hoping, kind of when you go last, you hope that the people that speak before you are going to be very, very poor. So then you come across better, and unfortunately that didn't happen either. So I think that's 4 things counting against me, so please be sympathetic. Our program you can find out a lot more about by looking at maristern.pro or talking to Ted Kampf or Shana Murray, who are at the back there, and we've got a table out at lunch for you to find more about our program and the nuts and bolts of it and who we serve. So I'm just going to talk about, very briefly, 2 things. One, our method, what we do, and then tell you a very, very brief story which illustrates what we do. We work with very practical skills, and we engage people in real-life activities that give them connection to the world around them. And that can be to the physical world or to the social world. And in our experience, and this program was started 35 years ago in England and comes out of a very successful non-profit there called Ruskin Mill Trust, increasingly in society, and this is a particular issue for those on the autistic spectrum, but I think an issue for all of us, is that we experience disconnection from the world around us. And that disconnection can be from the social world, it can be from the physical world, it can be a disconnection from community. At one of the centres that we had in England, or still have, we have 7 there, we used to run something called the International Festival of Glass. And we did that because the area where the college was a centre for glassmaking, had been an international centre for glassmaking for a couple of 100 years. And over the course of a weekend, we had about 6,000 people come to the campus, and they'd take part in glassmaking activities, and we had our students selling glass products, and had glass artists from all over the world attending that event as well. And a great teacher of mine, one of the students, a young man called Dean, who was at the time 19 on the autism spectrum, he'd had a fairly challenging experience of education. He'd gone to mainstream education and he'd gone to special ed. And when he was in mainstream education, his experience was being the kid that didn't know the right answers and sat at the back. And when he was in special ed, his experience was the kid that went to the school for the weird people. And I remember at the end of this event, walking down the driveway with Dean, and he turned to me and he said, "It's all right here, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, it's all right," in a kind of downbeat British way, like we do. And he said, "No, you really don't understand. I actually feel proud to be here." He said, "For the first time in my life, I feel as though I'm proud to be here." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "Because This is a place that I can be proud to be. It's not just about people with autism. It's not about people without autism. It's just a place where the community can connect. And that's an example of some of the work that we do. Please take some time to find out more about it. Thank you.